Good afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. We are feeling that chill in the air today, and it'll get real cold again tonight to 41 degrees, then won't be this cold again for at least another week. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top news stories. It is Tuesday, October 14th. Starting with the long goodbye from a public official. The King County assessor, who was arrested earlier this year, is apologizing and saying he won't run for re-election. Scott Greenstone has more.
County Assessor John Arthur Wilson says he won't run for re-election next year to lead the Department of Tax Appraisers. On Facebook, Wilson apologized to his ex-fiancée Lee Keller, who filed a restraining order against Wilson earlier this year. Wilson was arrested outside her home in July on investigation of stalking. He also apologized to friends and colleagues, saying, "I allowed ego, pride, and jealousy to override kindness, grace, and thoughtfulness. While I have never intentionally harmed anyone, I have caused pain and turmoil and undermined the trust I have built with so many people." Keller told KUOW she accepts the apology and all civil legal action has been dismissed. Charges from the July arrest have yet to be announced. Scott Greenstone, KUOW News.
Candidates for one of Seattle's two citywide council seats debated at KUOW on Monday. Council President Sarah Nelson is running to keep her seat for a second term. She says the city and county need to work together more efficiently to tackle the problem of homelessness.
This is an area of much needed improvement, and I have been pushing to make sure that we are not wasting the public's money on resources while people are sleeping outside.
Challenger Dion Foster said the city's shelter capacity is inadequate, but that the city is also too slow to build shelter alternatives.
One of the things that I want to be able to do on council is actually review our process for citing things like tiny homes.
Foster is a director of a nonprofit that championed the state's capital gains tax. She finished the August primary more than 20 points ahead of Nelson. Ballots for the November 4th general election will be mailed Friday. We're watching the rollout of a ceasefire deal in Gaza and have learned that an activist from Orcas Island that was detained by Israel is now back home. 32-year-old Jasmine Akita was taken into custody and held for 5 days after she was on a flotilla of boats approaching Gaza's shoreline, and they were captured by the Israeli Navy. The activists were drawing attention to the Israeli blockade on humanitarian aid to Gaza. Akita was released 2 days before the ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel was announced. In health news today, an estimated 400,000 Washington state residents could lose their health coverage if federal policy changes hold. Eilish O'Neill has more on this today.
About 1 in every 25 Washington state residents is expected to lose their health insurance. Emily Bryce is co-executive director of Northwest Health Law Advocates.
A lot of people are going to be hurting.
Some of them have been buying health insurance on the state marketplace. But when federal subsidies expire next year, their premiums will skyrocket, and about 80,000 people won't be able to afford them anymore. On top of that, 300,000 Washingtonians are expected to lose their Medicaid coverage in about a year. Many immigrants who are here legally, like refugees, won't be eligible, and citizens will have to prove twice a year that they work at least 80 hours a month. States with similar requirements have found that a lot of people who do work lose their coverage anyway, either because they don't know about the requirement or they can't keep up with the paperwork. Eilish O'Neill, KUOW News.
Sports and tourism merge this week. The Seattle Mariners are hosting the next 3 games of Major League Baseball's American League Championship Series. Vaughn Jones has more on how visiting Toronto Blue Jays fans may be making their presence felt at T-Mobile Park.
Blue Jays fans are known to show up in force at T-Mobile Park, but after a tough year for Canadian tourism in the United States, due in part to tariffs and comments from President Donald Trump, Canadian fans were not as present in Seattle when the Blue Jays came to town in May. Mackenzie McMillan is a Vancouver, BC-based travel advisor for the Travel Group. He says they're seeing a lot of bookings for flights and trains to Seattle and a lot of reservations at Seattle hotels for the next 3 days.
The fact that it has played out that the Mariners are going to play the Jays in the ALCS really is the best case scenario. I don't think they would see this kind of movement into the Seattle area if it was another team.
Visit Seattle says October is a time of need for the city's tourism economy as summer comes to an end. Vaughn Jones, KUOW News.
Hear more on the Mariners' playoff run Wednesday morning on Seattle Now. Turning to the fall harvest. Smoke from 2 big wildfires in central Washington this year has affected some of the apple harvest. Northwest Public Broadcasting's Renee Diaz has this story.
Wildfires during this fall's apple harvest filled the Wenatchee Valley with thick smoke. That means growers are dealing with a lack of sunlight. Less sunlight changes how the apples look.
Some of the challenges right now is getting color. With the smoke not letting the sun to shine down, well, it kind of hinders that productivity of getting the color pigments in the flesh of the apple to kind of come out.
That's Francisco Sarimento Torres. He's an instructor in the Wenatchee Valley College's agriculture department. Apples like Honeycrisp need to be exposed to the sun to achieve a rich red and yellow color. For now, Torres says growers are hoping for clear skies as the last apples come off the trees. I'm Renee Diaz reporting.
Renee Diaz reports for NWPB and the Wenatchee World as a Murrow News Fellow. In our next story, the difference a meal makes for kids. A new study has found evidence that providing free meals to all students may help lower their blood pressure. We get this story from KNKX reporter Mitch Borden.
Researchers at the University of Washington analyzed health data from over 100,000 students attending over 1,000 different campuses. The study looked at data from 2013 to 2019. The Community Eligibility Provision, a federal program that allows all students at schools in low-income areas to access free breakfast and lunch, was being rolled out nationwide at the time. Overall, at campuses that provided universal free meals, the number of students with high blood pressure went down by about 11% over 5 years. UW researcher Anna Localio, who led the study, says lowering blood pressure at a young age can help people avoid major health issues as they get older.
High blood pressure in children and adolescents is highly correlated with developing hypertension in adulthood, which impacts about half of American adults and is a major risk factor for heart disease and stroke.
According to Localio, the findings of this study is part of a growing body of work showing that providing free meals to all students could have a whole host of benefits spanning health, behavior, and academics. I'm Mitch Borden, reporting.
A few stories of note before we sign off. Want a ferry ride to Tacoma? Pierce County officials are floating an idea to add a new electric ferry service between Seattle and Tacoma. The push is coming from County Executive Ryan Mello and has investors signed on, like the Tacoma Venture Fund. The Port of Tacoma is looking into whether it could make it happen. A whale count. The latest census of southern resident orcas shows their overall numbers increased by 1 this past year to 74. But the K-Pod now has its smallest population since record-keeping began. The Center for Whale Research reports K-Pod is down to 14 members. And Seattle's chalking up more wins in the hotel industry. Michelin has awarded 2 keys to a pair of Seattle hotels. They are the eco-focused Populous Hotel and One Hotel Seattle. Michelin keys are similar to stars they give out to restaurants, honoring greatness in the field. And that's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Our producer today is Vaughn Jones, and I'm your host, Paige Browning. I'll be gone for a couple weeks and back next month, but stay tuned to hear more people hosting the news each night. See ya, and go Ems.